Today I want to discuss cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone that is produced by the adrenal glands, and this is something that is crucial to have, but we want to make sure that we have it in a good, healthy, balanced manner, and it's progressing the way it should throughout the day. So I know a lot of people just hear cortisol and they instantly think it's a bad thing, and that is not the case, because if we have extremely low cortisol, that can work to our detriment as well as high. So when you wake up in the morning, that is when you should be the highest in terms of cortisol, or at least early in the morning. If you don't have a good heightened cortisol response in the morning, it's going to be very difficult to get yourself out of bed. You're going to have very little desire for anything. You a lot of times will be craving salt. You will have hyperpigmentation that you notice, darkening of scars and folds in your body. You're going to have low blood pressure sometimes. It's not across the board with all the things, but these are symptoms that you could experience if you do have this low cortisol. And sometimes you hear the term adrenal fatigue, and that is really what it comes down to, is very low cortisol. It also goes in, hand in hand when you have zero appetite, you have zero energy, you're feeling so blah just across the board, and you don't have any ups in your day. You just feel like, I can barely get through my day. If that is the case, then you need to take an approach to boost cortisol, which is not typically the case for most people. They have the opposite, where it might be high in the morning, but then it starts dropping, and then it spikes midday, and then it starts going down, and then it spikes in the evening. And then, because it's spiking late in the evening, they can't get to that place of calm where they're sleeping through the night. So another issue with high cortisol is that a lot of times, when it spikes, this is what wakes us up. So women who are in perimenopause, and sometimes even menopause, they are woken up by this spike in cortisol middle of the night, 2 a.m. If you feel like, I'm waking up, I'm ready to go, and then I can't fall back asleep, that is probably your cortisol being out of whack. So before you start taking melatonin and you start taking all these things, you want to think in the bigger picture. Okay, how can I reduce stress? How can I manage stress better? Can I incorporate daily walks? Can I really focus on executing my schedule and my routine to boost and help with my circadian rhythm? And, refer back to the previous videos when I talked about that. Can I incorporate adaptogens and functional mushrooms to where my body is getting used to really relaxing even when I am exposed to stressors? And can I maybe incorporate cold water therapy, whether you're doing cryotherapy and you go to a facility for that, or you're just in your shower and before you get out, the last minute, you turn it down all the way and you really shock your body, or you're doing an ice bath. That is all over time going to help your body react better to stressors. So yes, instantly it's going to spike your cortisol, but over time it's going to help with cortisol regulation. So there's all these different practices that you can incorporate for cortisol management. And then there's different herbs, and like I said, functional mushrooms and adaptogens are going to be the best thing to do in terms of really helping with that. Now, it's important to also look at your intensity of exercise as well as your fasting schedule, because if you are extremely low cortisol, then I suggest incorporating fasting and more intense exercise, pulling just a few minutes out of you each day to really get the engine revved up and to get that cortisol boosted a little bit more, because that will actually help support boosting cortisol. Whereas for the people who already have issues with cortisol, you want to be in a really good spot if you are going to incorporate fasting, like we talked about. And if you are going to do extended fasting at that, you want to make sure you are not in a stressed out, tired spot to do it. And also with your intense exercise, You want to make sure that you're really managing that properly and you're not over exercising and overexerting yourself, because that will not help with cortisol either. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful, and we will see you in the next video.